Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here on This Is Just the Beginning. I'm your host Ellie and I hope you're having a good day. This week has been quite a slow week so far, even though it's only Wednesday, but I have some good news with the fact that it's Wednesday. I'm now going to be posting a new episode every Wednesday, 8pm, so if you're listening to this at 8pm, I'm glad you waited for the time because I did put an announcement on my Instagram earlier, so I'm glad you're here from there. But yeah, it's been a very weird week, to be honest. With me working and not working, like that's the only thing I don't like about working part-time. Like, yeah, it gives me the freedom, but it's also annoying that I have no structure. I don't know if you work part-time as well and you feel the same way, but hopefully I'm going to be moving to full-time very soon. I had a really exciting meeting yesterday at work, so that's something that I'm really looking forward to in the new year. And I've kind of just realised that my life is going the way I want it to go, which is such a huge realisation because when I decided to take a year out of uni in April, I was thinking, where's my life going to go? And I planned just to kind of do, as you do in a gap year, just get a job in retail or at a bar. And I was going to think, you can make a lot of money through that. And I was going to do that. But then I started applying to jobs. Then this job came about, as I've said before. And it's just the most amazing experience. And the fact that I'm going to stay there longer now, they want to keep me on. It's just kind of come full circle. And I've realised those dreams I had when I was 12 years old, they're not my dreams anymore. And yeah, okay, that's fine. They change. Who I was at 12 years old, loving languages, wanting to travel the world, that's not who I am right now. And opportunities have come my way, and I'm just going to really take them as they come. Yeah, you can't sit around and wait for opportunities to come to you. I haven't done that. I have gone out there. I have put my name out there. I've made my voice heard kind of thing. But I think at the same time, if you're really worried about what you're doing with your life or you want to change jobs and you've no idea what you want to do, etc., I think sometimes it's just good just to kind of wait a little bit. And something usually comes around. I mean, I'm not saying wait forever for something good to come around, but I honestly promise you that if you are, I mean, I know not a lot of people believe in the universe and energy and all of that. I don't believe in it to a very spiritual level where it's kind of my religion. I don't believe it in that way. But if I had to say I have a religion, sure, I've got the universe as my religion, whatever. But you have to put out good energy. You've got to attract the energy you want. You can't just say, oh please, I want this in my life. You're never going to get it if you just say, oh, I really want this, unless you have major lucky girl syndrome, but you probably don't. And you just have to put the work in order to get what you want, and that's what I've done, even though I'm kind of thinking back that, oh, I haven't put in as much work as I could have, but I've still got this far, and I think it's just such an amazing thing to think about. So as I said in a couple episodes ago, just look how far you've come. Sometimes I think it's really important just to sit back and kind of admire how far you've come, even if you don't think you've come that far, whether it's mentally, professionally, relationship wise, whatever kind of thing you're working on in your life. Kind of sit back and think, wow, I'm a different person, or I've definitely improved. Even if you think it's only a little bit does go a long way sometimes. Another little update I have is that I'm now going to be focusing a lot on my blog and my podcast because I've realised over the last year or so I've really been neglecting it, and I do apologise if you've been waiting for episodes every week and I don't give it to you, but that's just because I've been trying to work on my own life, and as much as I want to obviously make this my job eventually, hopefully, I don't know, but I have just been kind of neglecting it. So that's my New Year's resolution. I've done an episode about New Year's resolutions before, but I do want to mention that while I'm talking about it. I'm thinking that my New Year's resolution is to really focus on my social media, my blog, my podcast, because it really helps people. And that's my goal. Like, even if it helps one person, you listening to this right now, if it helps you in some way, if you just listen to 1 minute and it helps you, that's all I care about. I don't care about the views or the followers. As much as I love having a community, and it's a great community, I also just want to help people. That's my dream in life to do. But going back to the whole New Year's resolution thing, yeah, they don't work. And I get, so for example, dry January. It's not really a New Year's resolution, but it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to drink less this year. Dry January does work because I've done it a couple times and it does work because over the Christmas period you drink a lot, you put a lot of shit into your body, and that's not a bad thing. I will be the last person to say that it is. It's not a bad thing to kind of indulge in winter or whenever, and it's not indulging either, it's just kind of giving your body what it wants and what you want to eat, what you want to drink, whatever. But especially me, towards the end of like term at university, you go out more, in winter as well, you do tend to eat less healthy. That's just me at the moment as well. I've been lazy. I'm not eating as healthy because I want cheese on toast and warm things, not salads or yogurt. Those are the last things I want in winter. Although I do need to really start taking care of my health again, but that's another conversation to have with my therapist. So, but yeah, with dry January, it does work because you are giving yourself a detox, and I've done it where I'm thinking January's over, I could so make this last. And one year I did it to the end of February. Wow, big goal, I know. And I was 17 as well. Don't come at me. I was drinking since I was about 15. But that's just the British culture, I think. But it's not, I say that. It's not really. It's just some people. I think most people, to be fair, are like that. But I'm not saying that I was drinking heavily. But there were a few times, and that New Year's, I went way too hard. And that was one of the worst hangovers I've ever had still. So I said, right, I'm just going to do dry January. And I didn't really say it as dry January. I just said, and this is a big point I want to say, like, I just said it as, I'm just not going to drink for a while. And I think that is a really good way to look at it. Like, sure, January has such opportunity with it being a new year. Christmas has just gone, like a really busy time. It's time to really focus on yourself again, focus on your job. And I think New Year's resolutions kind of need to be shaped a little bit differently by just saying, oh, I'm going to give this a go for a bit, rather than putting all that pressure on yourself to do something you might not want to do. And a lot of people always think, why are my New Year's resolutions not working? Why am I giving up after 2 weeks? It's because you put that pressure on yourself to go and do this whatever, when you're like, oh, I'm going to go on a run every single day in 2024. It doesn't work. You need to stop being so hard on yourself, and that's something that everyone is guilty of in this society these days, because you see all of this hustle culture, and I know people being productive all the time, or on TikTok you see everyone going on runs, everyone going to the gym, and we are totally consumed by everyone else's lives, and we're like, oh, we should be doing that. And in some ways it is helpful with seeing a video of healthy eating. You're maybe a bit like, oh, I should really eat healthier, or stop smoking, stop vaping, which is something that I still need to do. But again, it does give you that boost and the motivation. Like, sure, social media, the media in general, is kind of a good way to motivate you, but sometimes, as we've seen with eating disorders and toxic bad habits, body dysmorphia, all of that, that's all grown pretty much from the media, and obviously it does lead to quite intense cases, I guess I could say, but for the most part it is quite motivating. Like, many times I've been scrolling, sat in bed all day long, maybe hungover, and I see this girl being really productive. A lot of the time I'm like, oh, fuck off, I don't want to see that right now. But other times I'm like, you know what, get out of bed, at least do one thing productive each day. And that's also my goal at the moment, to be productive each day by doing one thing. And to be fair, my productivity has escalated so much because you do that one thing, then you're like, oh, you know what, I might do this as well, and then this. And the kind of the adrenaline rush and the serotonin, endorphins, whatever it is, whatever hormone that is, I just get this sense of just happiness when I'm productive and I've done my to-do list, because a lot of the times I don't, and I get really down about that if my day's not gone the way I want it to. You have the power to make your day how you want it to be, you know? And again, with the whole New Year's resolutions, it is hard, because a lot of people do fall to New Year's resolutions with especially the gym. And as I said, it's a good time to do it because you've just had busy, kind of a lazy Christmas, and now, yeah, you're going to get back to the gym. But please don't be the person to make it so, like, it's, if I fail, I'm going to, like, hate myself. Please don't be like that. You are still working on yourself. Like, yeah, okay, so like, wait, let me just get my thoughts together right now. But most New Year's resolutions are to work on yourself. And if you bring it back to that point, like, hey, my New Year's resolution, if you want to call it that, is going to be working on myself. And number one in that is not being so hard on myself. So if that's something that you want to do, if you want to have a New Year's resolution, put that as your priority. Even if you're that kind of person that, hates the like concept of working on yourself, kind of being a better version of yourself. One, why you're listening to this podcast. And two, I do understand it, but everyone has to learn to work on themselves, because you're going to get nowhere. All you're going to do is be sitting in a 9-to-5 job, hating it, not really having a life, even if you think you do. I genuinely think the best lives come from people who know themselves inside out and really cares about themselves. I'm not saying in a way of healthy eating, exercise. No, I'm saying it on a self-care level. And that word is annoying, self-care. I hate it when I say self-care, even though that's what I talk about all the time. But I think that is the number one thing for self-care, to actually look after yourself, check in with yourself, ask yourself how you're doing. And I think if you make that your top priority for the new year, if you want to have a restart in the new year, fine. But you can also start now. So many people with diets, although I'm not going to talk about diets and my hate towards them, but, you know, a lot of, like, middle-aged people, older people who, yeah, maybe with dieting it does help you lose weight loss. Sure, okay, when you're older, it's harder to lose weight, and I've learned that through PT course and just common sense and seeing my parents, etc. Like, it is harder to lose weight, so when you get older, cutting out carbs is probably a better idea than when you're younger. You should not be eating no carbs ever, though. And I don't know, it's just about... Anyway, I'm not going to talk about diets because I get triggered by them and I don't want to trigger anyone else with my opinions on them. But yeah, a lot of people with diets say, oh, I'm going to start on Monday. I'm going to start first of the month, first of the year. Like, I'm going to start on this particular day. If you really want to make an improvement, start now. I am guilty of it. So many times I'm like, on Monday, I'm going to eat healthy again. Or Monday, I'm going to be productive again. I'm just going to let myself have these few days. That's not a bad thing, to be honest. Like, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, it's not a bad thing to have a kind of a date when you start something, but at the same time, if you're that willing to do it, you'll start it now. Like with me and vaping, that's how I haven't quit yet. And I know if you have vaped and you've stopped, or you're just against it, or pretty much anyone listening to this actually, we're like, just quit, just throw your vape away. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to now. Because I said to my boyfriend at the time, I was like, I'm going to quit in September. That's when I'm going to quit. And then I never did, because I was like, oh, give me 2 more weeks. Oh, give me another week. No, if you want to do something so badly, do it now. And I know I need to take my own advice, and I'm being very hypocritical here, but we're going to park that bad habit of mine, the worst habit, to the side right now. Going back to New Year's resolutions, it is hard, as I've said, and for some people they do work. Honestly, especially with the gym, healthy lifestyle, that kind of thing, it does work. But when you start being so specific with your kind of motivators and everything, I think that's where it can go wrong, but it can also go right. On the negative side first, because we'll finish that on a positive note, but on a negative side first, if you're so specific, you're going to hate yourself for kind of deviating from that path. If you're saying, I'm not going to eat chocolate. I mean, actually, no, that's the complete opposite of what I'm on about. But if you say, yeah, I can only eat chocolate on a Friday. And sure, that might help. Like, if you're like, oh yeah, I eat so much chocolate, especially over Christmas, I'm only going to eat on a specific day. It does help because you're like, okay, I've got this one thing. But then if you are at a party or someone at work offers you some chocolate and you really want it, you're going to be like, no, I can only eat chocolate on a Fridays. And do you know how much of a dick that makes you sound? Like, I know people have their own diets, and I get it. People have their own stuff going on. But I'm like, come on. So, but to be fair, when I mean specific, I mean, yeah, I want to lose this much weight in this much time. It can be very toxic if you don't do it, but then if we're going to the positive side now, being specific is better than being like very broad with your things. Like, oh, I'm going to be healthy next year. What does that mean? Really kind of look deep into what that looks for you. And again, this is where it comes in kind of a vision board, or just basically envisioning what your life wants, like what you want your life to look like. And if you can imagine yourself being that person, you can get there. I have this thing where if I can't see myself being in a certain position, it's not going to happen. I spoke about this earlier in the year when I was meant to go on kind of like a uni trip to Berlin. Like, just a whole group of us were planning to go to Berlin with like the German society. I bought my plane ticket. I like was all prepared to go. The day of, I was a mess with anxiety because I just couldn't picture myself there. I couldn't picture myself even getting on the bus to go to the airport. I couldn't imagine any of it. And it was really weird because I don't get that often. And when I was saying to my mum, I was like, Mum, can you come pick me up from uni? Like, I can't go. But she really understood it. I mean, it's probably because she's a therapist and she understands these kind of things, but she did kind of understand where I was coming from, because I thought she'd be really mad because she had just dropped me off, because it was also in the spring break, so I wasn't at uni anyway, and she just dropped me off, and yeah, it was very annoying for her and for me because I really wanted to go, and obviously I spent a lot of money to go, but it just wasn't meant to be. And again, with that, stop being so hard on yourself. And I say this over and over again in every single episode, but it's true. We need to really take a step back sometimes from our lives and just kind of relax and just live your life for a day or however long it takes for you to kind of feel like yourself again. And this is a New Year's resolution that I think everyone should have. I think it should be to stop being so hard on yourself, and also to really take the moment to be in the moment, to really understand the amazing concept of being present again. A lot of the time, I mean, I think we're all guilty of this, but if you think about your morning routine, you probably don't have a morning routine as such of self-care, but you probably get up, have a shower, have a coffee, maybe have some breakfast, get in the car, go to work. You have no time for yourself. And number one, we're now moving on to the section of how to really improve yourself next year. Number one is to have something in your morning that, you know, you look forward to having, and it really takes care of your soul kind of thing, and you nourish yourself. For me, that is making my morning coffee and not drinking it when I'm getting ready, or like shoving it down my throat before I leave the house, or have a to-go coffee. No, I like to make a nice latte with some latte art in a very nice mug with my seasonal coffee pods from Nespresso, whether it's pumpkin spice, gingerbread, vanilla, a cold brew in the summer, whatever it is. And I sit with my nice mug and I just kind of sit, or I stand by the window because I have the most amazing view out my window into the woods behind our house. And I see like the squirrels and the deer each morning, and I just love it so much, especially in the winter. Oh my god, it's so pretty. But I sit or stand or whatever and just have my coffee. And I usually don't drink all of it, it's usually like half of it, and then I get on with stuff if I'm running late. Like, of course, some days you're running late and you don't have time to do this, but try every morning. Again, this isn't something to put pressure on yourself to do. This should be something that you're doing already, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a nudge to do it, because if you do that one thing, and that can be exercise as well, it could be taking the dog for a walk, kind of something that is just for you. I mean, the dog is for the dog mainly, but also for you, go on a walk, you know, get some fresh air. But if you do something for you, however big or small it is, you will feel the benefits throughout the day, I promise you. You won't feel so rushed around, even if it's been like a 5-minute journaling or reading or just watching the news, or just something that you want to do for you, and not just kind of have a really busy morning just throwing some clothes on, having a shower, leaving, because then you're at work, and then when you get home you're tired, you don't want to do that anything else later on in the day, you know. So I think having that 10 minutes in the morning, even if that does mean waking up 10 minutes earlier, I promise you that's not going to make a huge difference in your sleep pattern. It is hard, especially in the winter, as I've said a lot of times, but I do think it definitely does help you. And the mornings where sometimes I am running late and I have to shoot off to work, or I get up too late, or whatever it is, or I'm at a friend's house and I just kind of get up and then leave and I don't really have that time in the morning, I have a rubbish day. And that is, again, like, probably psychological, because I think, oh, I have to do this to have a good day. No, to be fair, some days I have a good day if I don't have any structure, but I like to have at least my coffee every day. So when I'm at someone else's house and I can't have my mug, my coffee, you know what I mean? I get kind of panicky. But again, on that note, if you can't do it for whatever reason, you're away or like you're just running late, again, don't put the pressure on yourself to have to do it. And even if you can't, you know what I mean, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And this is something that should be because you want to do it, and it's just a slow, calming thing for you to do, even if that's a HIIT class in the morning, cycle class, whatever it is. I mean, calming for your mind, and it's just something to really take your mind off the whole day ahead, because so many of us in this hustle culture wakes up after having a really bad night's sleep because you're just thinking about everything you need to do tomorrow. And trust me, I am guilty of this quite a lot. And then you wake up after like 2 hours of sleep, pretty much, and you go to your notebook, you write out a to-do list, you're like, no, I need to do this, no, I need to do this, and you keep adding to it, and then your brain is just spinning. For me, that is worse than going on your phone first thing in the morning, because so many people talk about that, but I think this is even worse, because then you're just instantly in the work world, and you have no time to relax, because then at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, when you clock out, you're probably still going to be thinking about all those things you didn't get done. Again, don't be so hard on yourself. And to be fair, I'm kind of sick of myself saying that now, so I'm gonna stop saying that as much in this episode. So that's why I think you should have a slower start to your day. And also, I think this is gonna be point number 2, kind of moving away from that now. Have a morning routine. Not brush your teeth, make your lunch, go. Have, again, more things in your morning routine that you want to do for you. It's kind of connected to the point I was just talking about, but have a structured routine. Again, don't be so panicked or overwhelmed if you can't do it. Again, if you can do it, that's great. But have at least 3 things you do every morning. That's not have a shower or brush your teeth, or even if it is that, but have kind of an order to it, a structure to it, if you are that kind of person. I'm not saying everyone has to do this, but if you're someone who does like a routine and a structure, and maybe in the winter you've fallen out of that, think again, what can you do to your morning routine, whether that's adding a quick 10-minute workout. As someone who struggled a lot with falling back in love with exercise after having like been addicted to it for so long and like was forcing myself to do it, it is quite hard to get back into it now. And some days when I feel myself forcing to do it, I then have days off without it, because anyway, I'm not going to talk about that today, but I've noticed a big change because I get very anxious at work. That is still a big habit to kind of defeat for me when I'm sat down all day and I can't do a workout. Whereas if I'm working from home, I do move around, and I do make sure I stand up every hour, do something, go on a short walk, or like just move from my desk, because like the sedentary lifestyle is so bad for you. And again, I don't want to be spreading kind of toxic and really kind of triggering information, but it is. And some days, I do sit on my ass all day, especially when I'm hungover. Like, that's fine. Some days I've got a lot of work to do, so yeah, I will be just sat at my desk all day. But especially when I'm in work and all I do is like walk to the toilet and back. It's really hard for me sometimes, and I do still get worked up over it, because again, if you're in ED recovery or you know people in it, you know how hard it is sometimes for people to break free of those habits, even if it's been a year or more in recovery. And this is still that one big thing for me. And it's so hard sometimes when I'm just kind of sat there and I just want to move. And by the time I get home, I'm too tired to work out, because that's what people say. They're like, oh, just do a workout when you get home. Like, no, because then I'll be tired and I'll be even more annoyed at myself. But it's at work when I'm just sat there all day long, especially when I had my Fitbit on and it was buzzing every hour to get my steps in, and I would just freak. Now I know, for 2 reasons as well, doing just a 10 to 20 minute little like no jumping workout, just body weight workout or Pilates or something in the morning, it gets me out of bed for one, and I'm just set up for the day, because the endorphins from exercise is amazing, and I just have a better day because I know that I've done something. This is toxic. I'm hearing it back now, and yeah, it is toxic. But if you're someone who has never been a victim of diet culture and EDs and everything, I'll say this to you: if you are on the other side of it and you have been a victim of it, just kind of take it with a pinch of salt, because this is just my opinion again, and I don't want you to be influenced by me in that way, in a bad way. So, but with me, it's like exercise is so good for you, and I try and do something every single day, even if it's walking to the shops, right? But I know that if I have 10 minutes a day of exercise first thing in the morning, it just sets me up for a better day. So if you're someone who struggles to get exercise in because you work every day and you have no time to, again, wake up 10 minutes earlier and try and fit in a little bit of movement. Even if you just walk around your garden for 10 minutes or something, it's just something, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I think, again, we need to focus on that with all of us working 9 to 5, sat in an office all day or sat at home all day. It's something that we do need to focus on a lot more, exercise. But again, I am aware of all of the talk about exercise and you must exercise, and it can be very triggering, but you must also know how good exercise is for you. And I think just 10 minutes a day is all you need. Okay, not every day, but especially those days where you know you're going to be sitting down quite a lot. I do want to kind of help you think that it is a good thing to do, but please don't get triggered by it. Well, sorry, no, if you get triggered by it, I'm sorry. I can't say please don't get triggered by it because it's a trigger, whatever, but sorry, that whatever didn't mean to sound like that. I think I'm just on a rant now and I need to dig myself out of this hole. But if you're someone who is triggered by it, I apologise, and I am too, and this is just what I've learned, is that I just have a better day if I've had exercise first thing. And that's what I'm going to say on that. Point 3 is to really, make a vision board of who you want to be. It can be in your head, or it can be an actual vision board, getting images from Pinterest, or write out like in a journal or in a document, pin it up on your wall, who you want to be in 2024. And I think this is the most useful point I can actually say in this episode, because so many of us spend so much time being like, oh, I'm not the person I want to be, I don't like myself, I want to change everything, but I don't know where to start. Sit down with yourself, whether in your head, write it down, whatever it is you like doing. If you like making lists, great. But sit down with yourself and say, who do I actually want to be? And there is no wrong answer here. It's up to you who you want to be. But really think about who you want to be, and don't say, oh, I can't do this in a year though. It doesn't matter. Just sit down with yourself right now. You can pause this right here and just have a think about what you want in life, who you want to be, especially that deeper service of, do you want to be a better friend? Do you want to be a better listener? Just really narrow it down to the really foundations of what a person is, what a person should be in your mind, and really think about what you want to do. And from that, you can think, okay, how can I start implementing this into my life now? And then with that, you then have, again, that kind of productive feeling when you hit a goal you make, whether that is to exercise more or, I don't know, just journal more, and really self-care kind of things. Go to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, those kind of little things that do build up over time to make you a better person. I know it's kind of overwhelming to do first thing, when I've heard a lot of people say this, and it's really sad when they're just like, I just don't like my life, or I don't like who I am. And it can be so hard for them, for you, whoever, to sit down with yourself and have that honest conversation with yourself. It also sounds kind of dumb to have, but trust me, having that conversation in your head, out loud, writing it down, it just kind of makes you more aware of how you're feeling, what isn't right in your life, and how you want to change. The how is very hard sometimes, like, I do get that, but you won't know until you try. Try new things, try different ways to kind of get out your own head. So yeah, that's point 3. Just envision the life you want to have. Even if that's, I don't know, someone who has money, someone who shows up to work on time every single day. Whatever it is, just these little things, and then they'll kind of show you the things you do need to work on, because we all need to work on things. I need to work on being less of a hypocrite to you guys, definitely with the vaping thing, but anyway, I do think that we just need to spend more time just kind of sitting back and thinking, what do we want my life to be like? And you will get that if you put the work in as well. I will reiterate this point. If you put the work in, you will get the reward. And I promise you that, because otherwise, if you're going to be sitting around wishing for some miracle to happen, it might happen. That's what miracles are. You know, something might come along. But at the same time, you still need to really kind of work for what you want to do. And I'm in this position now where I have got that far, and it's amazing to feel and look back on all the things I've put into this right now with my job, with where I am in my life. And I do think, again, more people need to do this. And I'm going to stop saying that as well, because it's getting annoying. But you know what I mean. It's always a work in progress. And I think, again, I'm going to say it again, more people just need to understand that. And if you're here today listening to this, you are either working on yourself or you know that you have to. So I do kind of want to stress that it's going to be a work in progress. You will not get better overnight, and it's a very, very long process, and there's going to be so many ups and downs with it, when you might think you've figured out who you are, and then a day later you're like, I don't know who I am anymore, and that will come over and over again. It's like anything. Life is not straightforward. And again, with the whole thing with New Year's resolutions, you're going to hit bumps in the road where you can't do what you want to do. Kind of on that point now, but point 4, I think, is to work on your sense of accountability and self-control. These are 2 things that I'm really trying to work on at the moment, and it can be with anything in life, whether that's to stop smoking, as I've said, or stop drinking, or a positive or a negative, whatever it is. You need to have that kind of discipline. And again, not being too harsh on yourself, but having that discipline to say, hey, you said you were going to have a dry January, don't give in to your cravings, and have that discipline and the accountability, because no one else can do that for you. People can say, oh, don't do that because you said you wouldn't. You don't have to listen to them, but you should listen to yourself. And I think if you really want to change something, you will, and you will work on that discipline. And maybe that is something that you do need to do in order to get better self-control, etc. Maybe you do need a challenge for yourself. And maybe I do. Maybe I just need to stop vaping and then see where my self-control is, because I know my self-control is so bad. It's always been bad. So I think, like, this is kind of just a mini point to talk about, but I think, and I've done episodes on accountability a couple of weeks ago now, and I think it's just, again, something that we need to work on. It's so easy to blame someone else for your mistakes, especially if you say to a friend, hey, can you make sure I stay on track with this resolution this year? It's not their problem. It's not their kind of burden to have. Sure, they can help you. There's nothing wrong with friends helping you out or family helping you out with things you want to work on, but it has to come from you at the end of the day. And I think you know that deep down as well. Point 5, and this is the final point to kind of wrap up the episode, is think about if you really want this. If you really want to make this change, if you really want to have that life, whether it's something that you've just seen on Instagram, social media, the internet, celebrities, or your friends doing it. If it's a trend and you're just doing it because everyone else is doing it, which I assure you they're probably not, but that's just what you see every day. If you are just doing it because you're just jumping on the bandwagon, kind of rethink it again, because at that point you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for validation from everyone else. And that is the harsh truth, and you know that deep down as well. You really have to think if you want to change this. Only you can change it, so if you don't have your whole heart in it, it's going to be a lot harder. And then you're going to be even harder on yourself when it doesn't happen, because you didn't want to do it in the first place. If your friend is saying, oh, I want to run a marathon at the end of next year, let's work on running, and you're like, yeah, cool, I'll do that with you, then you feel like you're letting yourself down and your friend down because you don't actually want to do it, and you're half-assedly doing it. I think that's a word. Yeah. Half-heartedly as well, I can say, actually. Because you just don't want to do it. And that's fine if you don't want to do it. If everyone else in your friendship group is doing this, you know, sober year or being teetotal or only eating carbs on the weekend, whatever it is, even though that last point was a throwaway point, don't listen to that. But whatever it is, and you think everyone else is doing it, you can be the person to say, hey, look, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be part of your little club, whatever it is. You can still be friends with them, and they shouldn't toss you out and kind of defriend you just because you don't want to do the same resolution as them. On one side, it is helpful to kind of have that accountability with someone else. Like, a lot of people talk about going to the gym, go with a gym partner, because then you have each other to be accountable for and with, and sometimes it is helpful to have that. But then if one person drops out, what are you going to do? You know, so you do have to have that self accountability as well. And all of this is easier said than done. I know that, honestly. But I think this last point is very important to just kind of reiterate that. Are you doing it for yourself, or is it just a trend? I've definitely been guilty of just falling for the trend with that girl lifestyle from last year, the hot girl walks. Don't get me wrong, I love a hot girl walk. It's not a hot girl walk, it's just a walk. I don't know why we had to call it that, but I love walks with podcasts or good music, especially in the summer with a coffee, or I don't know if you've ever done a wine hot girl walk. That's even funnier. Put wine in a coffee cup, go with your mates, have a walk, because you're doing something for your health, but also having social time, having a glass of wine. I've done that before, it's so fun. I do highly suggest that, but in the summer it's probably a lot better. But anyway, if you're doing it for yourself, you will want to carry on doing it because you feel the benefits of it. If it's something that everyone else is doing, and I know I'm kind of just going in a circle here, but if it's something that everyone else is doing, you're not going to do it well, and it's not going to serve you in any way. Maybe you might end up falling in love with it, and that's what I did with that girl lifestyle. But then again, I was in recovery, I couldn't really keep up with it, I just had to kind of go with the flow. But that's another story for another time. I just think it's something that you need to think about again of, do I want to do it for myself? And kind of wrapping up today's episode, just kind of reiterating all those points of, don't be so harsh on yourself. With everything I've just said in this episode, if you're going to be harsh on yourself, it's not going to work out. If you want to make New Year's resolutions, that's up to you. But maybe kind of rebrand them thinking into, oh, I'm going to make this small change this year. Because then you immediately take all that pressure off you to just do something a little bit helpful for your lifestyle, rather than, oh, I need to do this for the whole of the year. I need to start on the 1st of January. To be honest as well, if you're anything like me, 1st of January, you're not going to be going to the gym. You're going to be at home, hungover, with bottles of water surrounding you that you've not touched yet because you will throw up if you have any sip of water, and McDonald's wrappers from the night before. You know what I mean? It's kind of a bad time to start on January 1st because you're going to be hungover. And it's a bank holiday as well. Have the last day of Christmas off, you know what I mean? But I mean, if you really want to do it, you will start on that day. And again, with the kind of point on why start tomorrow, start today, it's up to you as well with that. That's just my opinion on it. If you want something bad enough, you'll start now. So maybe that's something I need to think about with certain behaviours I do and certain habits I need to quit. But yeah, and I'm kind of going to wrap up today's episode, and I'm not going to say what I've been saying all episode again. I'm not going to say those words, but I hope you have learnt something. Again, as I said, beginning of the episode, these podcasts and blogs are just for you to just learn from. I'm not making any money out of it. I'm just doing it for, my own kind of diary, my own satisfaction, because I love doing it and I love talking to you guys, and I just want to help one person out there. So if I've helped you today, I'm very happy about that. And let me know as well. DM me, message me, leave a rate, review, share to your friends who are really considering resolutions or they need a bit of guidance with that. And I want to do another episode in the new year to, again, reiterate the whole concept of resolutions, and don't be really upset if they fail, because I mean, I know you will, but sometimes they fail and sometimes they just weren't right for us and the goal was too big or too specific or whatever it is. But anyway, I'm going to sign off now, and I hope you have a fabulous end of the week. I know I will be. I'm in work tomorrow, and to be honest, I have been hungover today, so that's great for me. But yeah, new episodes every Wednesday, 8 p.m, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.